Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. Today I have for you a Hotfix rhinestone tutorial. If you have been following my channel at all, you'll know that I have been working on a pretty intensive 1890s Elsa spirit dress project, and by the time I finish it, I'm hoping that it won't be more than about 21,000 rhinestones on this project. At this point, I think I've applied about 17,000 so far. And unfortunately, there's more to go. But fortunately for you, I wanted to show you how I've been applying all of these rhinestones. Because you know what? Although it's tedious, it's not hard. And although it takes a long time to do that many rhinestones, if you're doing a lot less rhinestones than that, it'll take you no time at all using this method. So this is again for Hotfix rhinestones. I know a lot of people do glue their rhinestones, but this is for the kind that have the backs that can melt so that you can just stick them on once they're hot, once they're melted, onto your garment. By using this method, you can put on about 500 rhinestones an hour. So let me show you how I do my Hotfix rhinestones. You're going to need a few things: an electric griddle, Hotfix rhinestones. This is the brand that I like, which I will link below, but any Hotfix rhinestone should do in whatever size you need. A large pin, and very important, something to protect your finger. I like these silicone finger covers, finger protectors. You just put that on and that way you're able to touch the rhinestones. Optional, you may want a tweezers, like the long kind that you use for your serger. This is handy if you need to pick up any rhinestones that may have flipped over or fallen down on your griddle. And also a friction pen or otherwise heat erase pen. This is really nice to use to mark where you want to put the rhinestones. If you're putting them on a light colored surface, you can mark where you want to put the rhinestone, and as soon as you put the rhinestone on it, the marking will disappear because it's heat erase. Also important, please make sure that if your griddle is in an extension cord, like mine is because my sewing room does not have a lot of plugs, use an outdoor style extension cord. I learned this the hard way. I did actually melt an indoor style extension cord. It just wasn't up to handling the power of the griddle. Also, make sure that your surface that you're on is safe for heat. This is a large ironing board cover, my sewing table, so that is a good place for heat, but you could do it on your kitchen counter since that's where a griddle is meant to go. Wouldn't recommend doing it, say, on your dining room table. That probably isn't the safest. Start out by laying some of your rhinestones on the griddle with the shiny, sparkly side facing down. Depending on your comfort level, you can put just a few rhinestones or you can put up to about 45 rhinestones. This also depends on your speed and on your griddle. For example, this griddle that I'm using right now is a last minute replacement when my other griddle died, and honestly I do not like this griddle. It has a cycle on off feature, which means that when it gets to the temperature that I set it at, which is about 300 degrees, it actually cycles off and waits until it wants to turn on again. And that means that I wind up having to wait after I put my rhinestones on the griddle because they cool down. And the thing is, you need your rhinestones to be hot. So I have turned on my griddle. Now, be careful when you're putting your rhinestones on the griddle. You do want to make sure that only, say, your fingernail, for example, touches the griddle. You don't want your finger to touch the griddle because that would hurt. I'm just going to lay down a few rhinestones since I'm just putting a few replacement rhinestones on this Elsa cape. I have to admit, rhinestones do not stay super well on organza or probably other sheer fabrics because the glue doesn't really have much to adhere to. If you're putting your rhinestones on a fabric that's not sheer, they should stay on just fine. But I'm going to start by just replacing a few of the rhinestones that have fallen off of here, so I'm just heating up about 10 or so rhinestones. When you first put your rhinestones on the griddle, you're going to have to wait for at least about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, for the rhinestones to heat up. You can tell that your rhinestones have fully heated up when the back looks wet because the glue has melted. Once your glue on your rhinestones has heated up, take your pin and just touch it gently to the back of the rhinestone. Swiftly put it onto your fabric and pull the pin out horizontally while pushing down with your finger in the silicone protector. Repeat. Rhinestone, flip it over so that it's shiny side up, pull the pin out, put your finger on it. If you're working with a sheer fabric, you do want to make sure that you don't pull up your fabric from your base while the glue is still warm. With this method, you can put on up to about 500 rhinestones an hour, I find, if you're going directly from here, and if you have a griddle that does not cycle off. One thing to note, if you're working with a griddle that does not cycle off, you do need to cycle it off yourself. That means that if you put your 20, 25, whatever rhinestones down on your fabric, while you are putting your next batch of rhinestones on the griddle, turn off the griddle, because otherwise, while you're putting your rhinestones down, the first ones that you put onto the griddle are going to overheat and the glue is going to turn yellow. And two things happen when the glue turns yellow. One, it doesn't actually stick as well to your garment. And two, it, especially if you're working with a sheer fabric, actually will adhere your fabric down to the surface below. And then you tear your fabric when you're trying to pick it up. So do be careful not to leave your rhinestones on the griddle too long. That said, if you do have a griddle that does cycle, you really don't have to worry about your rhinestones ever over melting. If you find that your needle tends to get glue on it, especially if you're working with a table like this, what I do is I insert it into the fabric of my table and pull out, and any glue that might have gotten stuck to your needle gets left inside the table. You don't need to keep your finger on the rhinestone for long, by the way. You really only need to keep your finger there as you're grabbing the next rhinestone. So remember, all you need to do, pick up with your needle, flip over, and slide off. One other important thing to note, don't use this griddle for food after you use it to melt plastic. That is bad for your health. Please don't do that. Please make sure that you have a separate griddle for food and for arts and crafts. If your rhinestone flips over as you put it on the tray, that's what your tweezers is for. You can just pick it up like that and usually turn it over. Now, if you can pick it up without it sliding around at all, you can probably still reuse that rhinestone. But if the rhinestone slides at all while you're trying to pick it up, that glue has slid onto your griddle and you are not going to be able to stick that to your garment. So just get rid of that rhinestone. This first clip is from my very first time doing the rhinestones on my Elsa bodice. In other words, before I realized just how important that silicone finger protector is. Please, friends, don't be like me. Don't burn your finger. Just start out by getting a silicone finger protector. By the way, if you are working on something that is not a flat surface, a pressing ham is your friend. Just put it underneath the thing that you are working on, and it can act as a flat surface for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this quick tutorial. I do hope that it was helpful to you. If you do wind up using this tutorial, leave a comment below and let me know. And if you like this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a video. I do post videos here on YouTube twice a week, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And I do have a link in the description below to my Ko-fi account as well if you would like to support me in all that I do on this channel. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy rhinestoning!